At 2:11 a.m., the basement stopped pretending to be empty. Mia heard it while the washing machine spun. One slow inhale, one slower exhale, as if the room itself had lungs. It came from the rusted door at the far wall, the one that had no knob, no hinges, only a swollen frame and an old padlock that didn't actually loop through anything. She told herself it was the building, or the boiler, or rain inside the pipes. But the air on her skin warmed like breath, humid and faintly sweet, and the tiny hairs on her wrist leaned toward the door, as though someone were whispering inches away. She raised her phone. The light picked out crosshatch scratches around the frame. Tally marks, maybe? Some were inside the wood, too deep for fingernails. Mia stepped closer. The breathing paused. That pause was worse than the sound. It felt like the thing behind the door was listening for her next mistake. Hello? Her voice died on the concrete. A second passed. 2. Then a soft tap from the other side, delicate, like a fingernail on a glass of water. She told herself to leave the laundry, to go upstairs, to pretend this was not happening. Instead, she touched the door. Heat bled through the wood. The grain under her palm pulsed once, twice, answering the rhythm of her heart. The padlock jiggled against nothing. On her screen, the timer ticked past 2:12, and in the tinny microphone of her phone, she heard the sound the door made when it exhaled. It formed the beginning of a word. Not a word? Exactly. Her name broken into breath. M. She yanked her hand back. Above, a bulb popped and went dark. Another flickered. The light strobed across damp concrete. Lint, a line of dead flies along the baseboard like punctuation marks. Mia swallowed. She wasn't superstitious. She was practical. She had rent, a job she hated, laundry to fold. She also had a new rule: never go downstairs after midnight. She gathered her damp clothes with shaking hands, left the rest in the machine, and climbed the stairs. On step 9, the breathing resumed. Quiet now, patient, as if it knew exactly where she lived. The landlord laughed when she asked in daylight. "Old buildings breathe," he said, then pretended to remember an urgent phone call, and retreated through the office door that said private. There were no maintenance records about a sealed room, no permits, no service tags on the boiler that matched the sound. That night, Mia placed a glass of water on her dresser. At 1:58 a.m., the surface quivered. At 2:03, concentric ripples formed, tiny earthquakes mirroring lungs she couldn't see. The breathing was upstairs now, in the hallway, following the grain of the floorboards like a scent. She turned on every light. She opened the bedroom window to prove the air came from outside. The city was still, a paper bag scraping pavement, a brake squeal 3 blocks over, nothing that matched the slow pull and release she felt in her chest. She started recording with her phone. 12 minutes of nothing. Then a hush that made the room colder. Inhale, exhale. She crept out with a screwdriver, 'cause that's what people do before they learn not to. The basement smelled like pennies and wet books. Dust drifted in a gentle stream toward the door, drawn by invisible lungs. Mia wedged this screwdriver under the frame, because she needed it to be a trick of wood and paint. The metal didn't bite. The door sighed. Warmth washed her face. Something inside the wall tapped, 5 times, pausing between the 3rd and 4th like a heartbeat skipping. She positioned the phone flashlight closer. Carved into the jamb, barely visible unless light grazed it just right, was her middle name. Not the one on forms, the one only her grandmother used, the exact spelling, the diacritics. Below it, a date, June 17th, her birthday. Not this year, not any year she recognized, just June 17th. She stepped back until her heel found the bottom stair. The door inhaled, long and greedy. She felt it steal warmth from her cheeks, the moisture on her tongue, the whisper of her hair. This time, when it exhaled, the breath shaped the rest of her name, finishing what it had started upstairs. She fled, and the lights died behind her like a mouth closing. People say you can't record what isn't there. Mia recorded anyway. She left her phone in the laundry room overnight, A test, while she lay awake counting the seconds between breaths in the darkness above. In the morning, she had 3 hours of audio. Creaks, a soft ticking like a moth against glass, and at 2:46 a.m., a voice. It didn't speak consonants so much as press them into the microphone from the other side of a membrane. It said her full name, all 3 pieces, savoring each syllable until they dissolved. She took the recording to Alex, the only friend who hadn't fled the city. He listened once with headphones, once out loud, once with his hand flat on the table like he might steady the sound. "Could be plumbing," he said, carefully. Then, "Could be not plumbing." He printed the waveform and traced the peaks with a pencil. "This pattern doesn't look like a boiler, it looks like respiration. See the asymmetry? Inhalation longer than exhalation." He drew an arrow. "And this is speech, the formants. That vowel isn't from a pipe." They found a building ledger in the library's microfilm, the kind of research that makes you feel like you're being hunted by deadlight. The basement appeared on a blueprint from the 1920s without any door at all. On a later blueprint, a door was sketched in pencil. Next to it, a note. "Seal it. It's learning the house." The ink had bled through the page like a bruise. That night, Alex came with her, armed with a thermal camera borrowed from work. The screen showed blues and greens until it found the door. Then the rectangle burned in slow oranges, pulsing hotter, cooler, hotter again. "It's not ambient," he whispered. "It's cycling." As if to acknowledge the compliment, the door exhaled a gentle fog that curled along the floor and wrapped their shoes. In the condensation on the concrete, letters formed, not written, condensed. "Open." The fog thinned. The word remained, wet and patient, like something smiling without a mouth. They argued on the stairs. Alex said rules mattered. Don't touch it. Don't feed it attention. Don't make deals with rooms. Mia said rules didn't stop it from learning her name. The argument ended when the basement lights all came on at once, a bright hum, and the door bowed inward as if a chest inside had taken a deep breath. The padlock rattled against air. The screwdriver she'd wedged earlier lay on the floor, corroded in a perfect silhouette, like a time-lapse of years completed in a single night. Alex wedged a rubber doorstop under the laundry room door behind them, because the mind invents talismans. He raised the thermal camera. The palette went white-hot, then black, then white again, oscillating like a heartbeat on a broken monitor. "If it's a cavity," he said, "there should be echo." He clapped once. The echo did return, but not from ahead. It came back from inside his chest, a hollow answer that made him gag and clutch at his throat. The door inhaled and Alex bent forward, as if an unseen hand had pressed between his shoulder blades. "Pull me," he rasped, and Mia did, anchoring him with both arms until the pressure eased. Something oozed from the frame, not sap, not tar, a black, shining fluid that hissed where it touched the concrete. It cooled into a thin skin, translucent enough to show dust trapped like fossils. When Mia leaned closer, faces looked back at her, parallax illusions probably, the way you sometimes find a stranger in the random weave of curtains. Except one of the faces turned to follow her. Its eyes were glossy and lidless, hatefully patient. "Enough," she said, to the door or to herself, she wasn't sure. She lifted the padlock that locked nothing. It was warm as skin. The door exhaled in a long, coaxing note, like a parent shushing a child or a diver saving air. Alex shook his head. His voice was hoarse. "We leave. We never come back." The door tapped 5 times in reply. 1, 2, 3, pause, 4, 5. And the floorboards upstairs answered like a house agreeing to something it shouldn't. They tried to leave. The stairwell had become longer, as if each step reproduced itself when they blinked. The building breathed with the door now. Every wall was a lung. Mia counted the taps below, 1, 2, 3, pause, 4, 5, as the rhythm chased them upward. On the landing, a draft curled around her ankle. It didn't feel like air. It felt like a hand with no fingers, shaped by pressure, impatient. Alex reached the top first and yanked at the hallway door. It should have opened easily. It had that morning. It was stuck now, drawn inward by a slow, enormous inhale. "On 3, he said. but the word 3 sliced in half as the breath peaked. The hinges screamed. The door to the basement, the breathing one, opened not with a swing, but with a parting, the way lips part. Mia saw darkness stitched with wet light, and behind it, laboring, the suggestion of ribs pressing outward through something too thin to be wood. "Don't look," Alex said, which is the only command the human eye refuses. Mia looked. In that instant she understood why the old note had said, "It's learning the house." The thing behind the door wasn't trapped in a room. The room was trapped around it. The building had grown over the creature like a scab. It had learned the shape of the tenants, footsteps, the weight of their names, the dates they were most alone. It had learned birthdays and middle names, and the exact way fear reads as heat on a camera. The inhale hit, the pressure yanked, Mia's feet left the floor. Alex grabbed her wrists. For a heartbeat, they were a human chain against a tide, knuckles whitening, tendons searing. The thing's breath licked her face, hot, sugared, ancient. Her bones hummed like tuning forks. In the black seam between the door halves, an eye slid open, wet, lidless, gentle as a parent's. It blinked by constricting, drawing her reflection inward until she was the size of a coin. "Please," Mia said, though she hadn't decided to speak. The eye considered the word like a flavor. The exhale came, a mercy so sudden they both crashed backward onto the landing. The hallway door flew open. They ran. They did not look back. They did not sleep. By morning, the basement was quiet again, a good dream sealed in cinder block. The landlord posted a sign, "No tenant access." Structural work. Mia moved out 2 weeks later. Sometimes, when the new tenants drag laundry at night, the building hums in long, patient breaths. Sometimes, standing at the top of the stairs, you can feel the air try your name on its tongue. And if you go down there, if you press your hand to the wood, you will feel it inhale, curious as ever, learning you.